The most slandered pope in history was perhaps Pius XII, who held the pontificate from 1939 to 1958. And he reigned in one of the most difficult periods of the modern age. What's his story? Eugenio Giovanni Pacelli was born in Rome on March 2nd, 1876. His family was long involved with affairs of church and civil law. In 1899, only at the age of 23, he was ordained a priest, having at the same time possessed degrees in theology and in both civil and canon law. Now, instead of the parish, his talents led him to church diplomacy, and he served first as a clerk in the Secretariat of State, then as a nuncio to Germany. He traveled worldwide for the sake of church relations and was involved in negotiations of the Lateran Pacts of 1929 under Pope Pius XI, which were negotiated at that time with Italian Prime Minister Benito Mussolini. These agreements secured the independence of Vatican City and addressed disputes between church and Italian government. Now, Eugenio Pacelli was made a cardinal by Pope Pius XI in 1929, and in 1939, he was elected pope in a brief one-day conclave. 6 months later, World War II broke out, and he used his diplomatic skills to communicate with many government officials. And despite belief by many, Pope Pius XII dealt closely with Nazi persecution of the Jewish people. When the Nazis occupied Rome, the Holy Father opened the Vatican and religious houses throughout Rome to more than 1 million Jews and other refugees, providing food and shelter. He delivered almost 200 radio speeches in different languages to speak out against the violence and to promote peace. German historian Michael Hessemann said Pope Pius XII did more to save Jews and stop the killings than any politician or religious leader of his time. 80% of the Jews in Rome survived the Holocaust due to the Pope's efforts. The chief rabbi of Rome, Israel Antonzoli, was so moved by the Pope's work to save Jews that he became a Catholic. After the war, the government of Israel promised to plant 850,000 trees in the Pope's honor, one for each Jewish life that was saved by his efforts. Now, after the war, Pius XII fought against the rise of communism by radio, by writing, and diplomacy. As a prolific writer, he wrote a number of documents, including 41 encyclicals, and gave many addresses on marriage and family life. In 1954, he defined the doctrine of the Assumption of Mary, that the Mother of God was assumed or taken up into heaven, body and soul, at the end of her earthly life. It's amazing that even during the war also, he oversaw vital excavations under St. Peter's Basilica, right behind me, in an attempt to identify the Apostle Peter's tomb. He died at Castel Gandolfo in October 1958 and was hailed a holy man, a prophet, and a leader who guided the church and to some extent the world to reform and renewal. Now, it was December 19, 2009, the Pope Benedict XVI declared Pius XII Venerable, paving his way for canonization. May the example of Pius XII teach us to speak out against all forms of injustice and advocate for all those suffering the same. God be with you.